returned against Mr. Chad Wilson. Count 1 of indictment number 2009-587 alleges that Chad A. Wilson, on or about the 8th day of July in the year of our Lord 2008, at Lowell, in the county of Middlesex aforesaid, did willfully and maliciously set fire to burn or cause to be burned, or did aid or counsel or procure the burning of a dwelling house, to wit, a dwelling house of Brian McGowan, DBA 10 Men Inc. To that indictment, Mr. Wilson is pled not guilty. Count 2 alleges that Chad A. Wilson, on or about the 8th day of July in the year of our Lord 2008, at Lowell, in the county of Middlesex aforesaid, did commit an offense set forth in section 1, 2, 5, or 7 of chapter 266, where said offense resulted in injury to a firefighter, Mark Poirier, in the performance of his duty. To both of these indictments, members of the jury, the defendant has pleaded that he is not guilty, and for trial thereof, he has placed himself before his country, which country you are. You are now sworn to try the issue. If he is guilty, you will say so. If he is not guilty, you will say so and no more. Members of the jury, hearken to the evidence.
Leah Escalera watched. She watched as her father's best friend. She watched as the person she referred to as her godfather. She watched as the person she knew lived with her father. She watched as Chad Wilson lit a For Men sign on fire and threw it through his bedroom window. Ladies and gentlemen, that fire ignited a devastating fire at 339 West 6th Street in Lowell. That fire consumed a 3-story building, 6-family home. It displaced 6 families, approximately 30 people, and it resulted in firefighter Mark Poirier being taken by ambulance to the hospital for burn injuries he sustained when hot tar fell from the roof on his back and neck. Why? Why did Chad Wilson do this? Ladies and gentlemen, the Commonwealth will prove to you that Mr. Wilson did that because of a fight he had with Talia Escalera's father, Ramon. The fight because they were behind in their rent, Ramon was getting evicted, and he told Mr. Wilson to get out. You're going to hear about the daytime hours of July 8, 2008. And you'll hear that at the house. In the house, I'm referring to 339 West 6th Street, specifically the apartment called 1 Left. So it's the first floor, left side of the building. You're going to hear that Talia Escalera went to visit her father that day, Ramon. Ramon Escalera lived in the apartment, first floor to the left. He lived there with his girlfriend, Maria, Maria's young infant son, Ramon, and Chad Wilson. During the day on the 8th, Talia will tell you she went out to the park with her father, Maria, the baby. And at some point that afternoon, around 2 o'clock, she went back home. And when they all got back home, Annabelle Bonner was there. Annabelle Bonner is Talia's mother, Ramon's ex-girlfriend. They get along. Well, they got along. They were all at first floor left that afternoon. There was drinking, there was a slip and slide in the kitchen, there was arguing. There was arguing between the people in the apartment, there was arguing between the people in the apartment and the neighbors. Got to be quite the chaotic night. Who was there? Annabelle Bonner, her daughter Talia, Talia's father Ramon, Ramon's girlfriend Maria, and their infant son, and the defendant, Chad Wilson. About 6 o'clock that night, a person by the name of Dean Dumont comes over. Mr. Dumont is the building manager for 339 West 6th Street and some other units that are owned by the same individual. Mr. Dumont went by and he was looking for Ramon. He was looking for Ramon because he needed to serve him with an eviction notice. He comes across Chad Wilson. He knows Chad lives there with Ramon. He says, "Hey, do you have any money?" Chad didn't have any money and said, "F them, I'm out of here. I'm moving to Florida with my father." You're going to hear, that was about 6 o'clock. Annabelle Bonner is going to tell you that she's there when Ramon and Mr. Wilson get in the fight, and that about who's being evicted, get out, and that Mr. Wilson says, yeah, watch what happens. 11 o'clock that night. People have been drinking, people have been arguing all day. There's been an argument between Ramon and Chad, and Annabelle Bonner says, you know what, it's time to leave. I need to leave, Talia needs to get home. And she starts to leave out the front door of 339 West 6th Street. And as she's going, she'll tell you that the defendant grabbed her arm and they both ended up tumbling down the stairs. Talia will tell you that she saw this happen. She was scared, she was crying, she ran across the street, and you'll hear testimony that there's a bank across the street, and that's where Annabelle Bonner had parked her car. Talia ran across the street. She was upset because of all the fighting, and her mother then finally comes over. Now the fighting's outside. There's fighting between Annabelle and Ramon. Mr. Wilson's outside. There's fighting between him and Ramon because of the incident of just falling down the stairs. Maria is outside at some point. There's fighting. There's yelling. You'll hear that in the car across the street from 339 West 6th Street is Annabelle Bonner in the driver's seat, her daughter Talia in the passenger seat, and Ramon is there. Ramon first goes to Talia's side of the car and then goes over to Annabelle's, and they're fighting. Across the street is Chad Wilson, the defendant. He's standing outside of 339 West 6th Street in front of the window to his room. You'll hear testimony that that window is broken, and that window is covered by either a sheet or a blanket, some sort of drapery to keep the air from coming in. As they're in the car, that's when Talia looks over and sees the defendant lighting a for rent sign on fire. She sees him throw it in that broken window. Miss Bonner's going to tell you she doesn't see that. She's fighting with Ramon. The next thing she sees, though, is fire coming from Mr. Wilson's room. Maria runs out of the house. Talia will tell you that she then, at some point, saw the defendant coming out of the house and running towards Exeter Street, which is if you come out the front door of 339 West 6th to the left. The fire starts, lo and behold, in Mr. Wilson's room. Talia, Annabelle, Maria then comes out, gets in their car. They leave. They are going to, I believe it's Ramon's mother, Talia's grandmother's house. You're going to get testimony that fire department comes, the police come. When the police arrive, the building, the flames are going up the back of the building. And you'll hear testimony from the fire inspector that it's his opinion the fire started in that front left bedroom, the bedroom belonging to Mr. Wilson, but because of the wind that night and the doors and the windows open, that it went through the home and up the back. Talia, Annabelle, Maria go to Talia's grandmother's house. She's not there. They went back to the scene. Now when they get back to the scene, the fire department is there, the police officers are there, and the police are attempting to determine what happened. They're looking for witnesses. They attempt to talk to Annabelle and Talia. While they're doing that, Ramon's there. You can hear a lot about Ramon in this trial, and I don't anticipate that you'll actually hear from Ramon. In fact, Ramon that evening was placed under arrest. He was placed under arrest for disturbing the peace because when the police were attempting to speak with witnesses and ascertain what had happened in the middle of this chaotic scene, and you'll hear that there was approximately over 100 people out on the street. There's a six-dwelling blaze. He's interfering. He doesn't want the police talking to Annabelle. He doesn't want the police talking to Talia. He's placed under arrest. Annabelle and Talia go back to the police station. They give a statement as to what happened. And police learn, and you'll learn, that Mr. Wilson was living with Ramon. There was a fight over getting evicted, and you'll hear what Talia saw that night. While at the police station, the fire happens about 11:30. At 2:20, the police receive a call from Saints Memorial Medical Center. And they learn that there's a person at Saints Memorial Medical Center with burn injuries and soaking wet clothing. Detective Fenlon will tell you that he went to Saints. He observed the defendant, Chad Wilson. He observed him have burns to his face and to his arms. And he took his clothes, and the clothes were soaking wet. I anticipate you'll hear in this trial from a fire investigator named Robert LaFlamme. He will tell you that he came to the scene to investigate the fire. He looked through the residence. He determined that the fire likely began in that front bedroom, the defendant's bedroom, and a mattress was dragged from the bedroom and wedged in a doorway. And as a result, the fire was primarily, the most damage was to the kitchen area and then went up the back. At the end of this trial, the Commonwealth is going to ask that you find Mr. Wilson guilty, because he had the motive, he had the opportunity, and he had the intention to set his room on fire. And as a result, 339 West 6th Street in Lowell burnt. And while fighting that fire, Mark Poirier suffered injuries. Thank you.